This is Human Acts by Han Kang. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm so sorry if it's not. This is the only book I've ever read from her. I read it this year a little bit ago, and honestly, I'm not too afraid to say that she seems to be on the level of Saramago and Ishiguro, which are like two of my all-time favorite authors. I cannot wait to read more from her, and I definitely will. She recently won the Nobel Prize for Literature, and I'm so happy. Like, I've never read Murakami, but I'm very happy she won. Let's put it that way. I mean, when the Nobel Prize people don't give a certain award to like certain people, I kind of trust them. There's a big author in Portugal that there are some conversations about the fact that he should have won already and he hasn't. And I love his books, but I can kind of tell why he hasn't. Human Acts is about the student uprising in Gwangju. I'm sorry I'm pronouncing this name so wrongly, but that's how I read it. Gwangju in the 1980s in South Korea. I heard the recent news that I think it was the president tried to instate martial law very recently in South Korea. And I was so impressed by how fast they reacted to it when they immediately went, I think it was to parliament because it needed some approval vote to be officialized or something. And the people were like, absolutely fucking not, you're not instating a martial law. I was impressed by them when they did that, very recently. After reading this, I realized why they did it. This was probably one of the most brutal books I've read ever. Especially the story about the factory girl was absolutely insane and hard to get through. I was stunted. I was looking at the page when I started reading that part. I was looking at the page completely mouth on the floor. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't get over it. Just kept reading it and rereading it, and it was more horrifying the more I read it, but I couldn't get over it. It was I think I don't know how much I talk about it in this channel, but in general, online, I talk a lot about this fear. And I mean, it has started to affect me in terms of my anxiety issues, the idea that the future is so uncertain and there are so many signs pointing to a bad few decades to come. And when I read stuff like this, it becomes that much more real and terrifying to think of. This book is called a controversial bestseller. It's in the back of the book. It's how people refer to it, and I hate it. I hate the idea that discussing something like this is controversial because it isn't controversial. It's just the fucking truth. And I mean, I know I wasn't there and I can't know if it's the truth, but this book was written with so much care to how the story is told. It's a part of the book. It's part of the story. This idea that the writer is telling us that they did so much research that they wanted to tell the story of this boy, because the story is divided in a few chapters that take different perspectives of a few people who were all connected to this one boy who died during the student uprising. And the boy was, I think, 15 years old. In the book, he's called Dong Ho, but I think the real name was a different name, but the boy really did exist. So when people call this book controversial, to me, it's absolutely freaking insane because I mean, just listen to the truth. The moment that we start calling the truth controversial, come on, we gotta be a little scared of that. I don't think it's controversial to talk about horrific things because they did happen. And the fact that it's not that they did happen then, it's that they're happening now everywhere, just not where I am, just probably not where you are because I know where my audience is, but they are happening. Things like this are happening. Much worse things are happening, and we just need to know about it. It's hard to read. It's horrible to read about. We need to know about this. Of course, you should be aware of many horrible trigger warnings. You should read this book, or you should be aware of what happened. Just not at the cost of your mental sanity. Like, this is what I tell myself all the time as well. Like, I need to be updated on world events, but not to the point that drives me insane. So do read the trigger warnings. There's none in the book, but just search them online and read them before you decide to read this book, because your mental stability is more important than this. I can tell you a little bit of what it's about if you can't read it. As I said, there are different chapters. It's actually, let me tell you which ones it is. The first chapter we read is The Boy. It's Dong Ho and his perspective at the provincial office. The provincial office was, I don't know exactly what it is, but it was a building, well, the provincial office in Gwangju, where they were storing a lot of the dead bodies, a lot of them. And the imagery that this evokes, it's absolutely heartbreaking. Like, it's at the level of Grave of the Fireflies. And this boy, like many of the students, because this was a student uprising, they were kind of just taking care of the dead bodies, making sure they were visible to the families when they came to claim them. And this is where the boy was. He was at the provincial office working a few other older students on trying to organize these dead bodies for funerals. Like, that's how the book starts. It's horrible. Like, beautiful, amazing book. Horrible to read. Horrendous. So safe to say this part is going to have a few spoilers, because I'm going to go a little bit over all the chapters. The next chapter is The Boy's Friend. This 15-year-old boy, Dong Ho, went to the uprising with a friend his own age. And this friend was unfortunately shot dead in the crowd. And then his body was carried to a mass grave. And the whole chapter is him from the mass grave. Like, we see the perspective of his soul after his body started rotting. It's horrendous. And by the way, to this day, the actual number of how many died is still not being divulged, or maybe they don't even know, maybe not even counted, because as it is described in the book, and I mean, I'm expecting some accuracy, a lot of the bodies were just thrown on, I forgot the name in English, the cars with the open backs. They were just thrown there and then thrown into mass graves, just like that. So how could they have counted them, you know? Then the third chapter is from the perspective of an editor. This was a girl, I think, was also a student back then and was present at the provincial office. And I don't think anything horrible happened to her in the police. I don't remember everything, but she's an editor at a publishing house, and she's working in 1985. This is when we see the chapter. And it's at a time where there's still a lot of censorship. And we see that she is taken into police custody and punched or slapped for like a long time to torture her to get information out of her. And she's the editor of a publishing house where she's working on a manuscript that is censored. Like, almost all of it is censored. Almost the whole manuscript is like covered in black highlighter. And the way that this was resolved was rather beautiful. Like, I don't know if this actually happened, but then the writer of the manuscript, which was supposed to be a play, I think, he put on the play and simply allowed the actors to act out the actions without saying any dialogue. Like, they only said the words that the censors didn't scratch out, and then everything else, they just mouthed the dialogue. Like, eerie. And we never really know what happened, because the chapter ends after, the play is put on. We can assume that they are all taken into custody and tortured. Then in 1990, we get the perspective of the prisoner. This was one of the male students. There were a lot of male students that were carrying guns, and this was one of them, and they were taken prisoner literally into these death camps, basically, and tortured for a long, long time until they were released. And this is him, and we meet him and another man who was also prison. Like, these were kids. These were university age students, and sometimes high school age students. And they were taken prisoner and tortured for a long time, for like months, I think. And it's the perspective of this prisoner 10 years later, when he's also talking about some parts of another prisoner. And this is all about how they haven't overcome it, and they probably never will. And this is a very big theme in the book, and one that I loved immensely. This idea that there's certain things you can't get over. Certain things, there is no healing, there's no therapy that will ever fix them. And she explains this idea and explains this reality that is very real for many people incredibly well in this book. And then we have The Factory Girl. To me, this was the absolute worst one. She was also part of a student uprising. Not really student uprising. This was, as it says, The Factory Girl. Back then, the country became industrialized very fast, incredibly fast. And the way they did it was by exploiting the workers in these factories and in these very low paying jobs. And then eventually some of these people started getting together, unionizing and, forming groups to kind of fight against this. And the factory girl that we meet was unlucky enough to be holding a gun when she was arrested. And because she had a gun, she was treated especially brutally. I will not, I'm not going to tell you what they did to her, but just imagine the worst thing that could happen to you. And there you go. Like the worst. And there you go. And then the very last chapter is the boy's mother's perspective. The boy is Dong-ho, the boy that was shot dead at the provincial office. And I mean, this is a level of brutality that is insane to even think of, because what happened was that the students had temporarily taken over Gwangju, the city, but then eventually the military went in like full force and shooting anyone that they saw. And they knew that they were going to arrive at the provincial office like later that day or like that night or something like that. So a bunch of students just holed up at the provincial office because they were naive and brave, and they had some guns, so they were going to, stand their ground. And it's even explained in subchapters that's like, it wasn't really a conscious, like it wasn't a decision of, I'm going to be brave and I'm going to stand by. It was one of those situations where it's like, there's nothing else I can do. It's either this, or I don't know what to do with my life. Either I fight for this, or I don't know what the point is anymore. And most of them were university age students, apart from Dong-ho. Dong-ho was supposed to go home. His mother even came looking for him, and he didn't go. He said that he would go, but then he didn't go. He stayed at the provincial office, and he was 15. I don't think they even gave him a gun, or I don't remember. But at some point, all of these kids, my cat. At some point, all of these kids, oh my God, wait. I need to hold her. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, at some point, these kids realized that there was no way in hell they were going to, make it out alive or anything like that if they were went out fighting. So in their naivete, they thought if we go out guns, arms in the air and not holding our guns, they can't shoot at us. They're just going to arrest us. And they went out, Dong-ho went out, no weapon, he was just a kid, and they shot all of them. His mother or his brother, one of them even reflects that if he had to go, that was the best way because it was the fastest way. And I just, can you imagine you having, that the only way that you can comfort yourself about the death of a loved one is by thinking that they went quickly? In the prisoner chapter, there is a really hard-hitting line that goes like this: "It was only when we were shattered that we proved we had souls." And this links back to the title of the book, Human Acts, because all of it were, human actions. I think we talk a lot about humanity and about people these days having lost their humanity, and I think we only are thinking of the good, empathetic part of humanity, because the truth is that all of the evil, horrendous shit that happens is part of humanity, is is brought down on us by us. And even in the book, there are references to certain people, like certain soldiers and stuff like that, that would not have done anything. Like soldiers who were ordered to shoot at people and instead shot at the sky, that they had to be there and they had to do their jobs, but they wouldn't go that far. And I mean, you can look at anything with perspective and with context and through a morally gray lens, but the fact, like clearly stated by the title of the book, is that all of this are human acts, are actions carried out by humanity. And as I said, it's not that human beings did that back then. It's that human beings are doing this and much worse today, all around the world, in many, you don't have to be in a third world country for human beings to do this to each other. That's the point. That's the point. And at the end of the prisoner chapter, there's to me, what is the sentence of the whole book, which is some memories never heal. And Han Kang was so completely unafraid to talk about this and did it so beautifully and so to the point with all of these people that it doesn't matter how stable your life becomes. It doesn't matter that you have a job and people to count on and that everything in your life might go fine until the end. After you go through something like this, it never goes away. In a way, you never leave the prison because there are memories and there are dreams and there are triggers. If you are triggered by stuff like this, you know. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people who never go through extremely traumatic events don't understand that you never leave it. You forget it. You can be present much of the time, but it will always come back. You will always be back there. Even if it's just for a second that you are triggered, even if it is a nightmare that you have, I don't know, every year on the anniversary of something, you never truly live it. Like the memories never really heal. And yeah, that's one of the most important points of the book to me. And I'm just very thankful to Han Kang for being able to make this point so well and so clearly. Like, this book has real blood and guts and rot and bullets like spilling out of it and being fired out of it. It's like literally a living thing. And that's how you feel reading it. You get these images in your head and you will never forget them. You will never forget them, and you shouldn't. And you shouldn't. Like, we need, as hard as it is to know about these things and to know that these things have happened and are happening, as hard as it is to admit that humans are capable of doing shit like this, we need to know about it. We need to know. It needs to be ever present. Because, man, rights and peace and freedom is lost like this.